This is All India Radio. Under the Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav series of Spotlight program, now we bring you a discussion on India, the top destination for foreign direct investment. The participants are Sharat Kohli, economic analyst, and Sonu Sood, AIR correspondent.
India received its highest ever foreign direct investment inflow of $83.57 billion in the previous fiscal year 2021-22. In 2014-15, this figure was $45.15 billion. How do you see this achievement by India despite the military operation in Ukraine and COVID-19 pandemic?
I think it's a phenomenal achievement, Sonu, because it has come at a time when India is still a developing nation. And it has come at a time when the world has seen some of the most difficult times. And when I say difficult times, particularly refer to Corona times, let's say last 2 years. I think so I would like to look at last 18 years. If I look at last 20 years, so I would like to put last 18 years on one side and last 2 years on the other side because of what you just said. Because at a time when the whole world was facing a very tough challenge, there were lockdowns around the world, the businesses had come to a standstill. And during that time, we saw record FDI coming. In fact, if I count last 2 years, we saw $165 billion coming in all, and these came from 101 nations. And not just that, it came in 57 sectors. So if I speak of the sectors from infrastructure to electronics to information technology to automobiles to pharma to services, railways, chemicals, textiles, airlines, aerospace, I think the range of FDI which has come to India is very, very encouraging. It is not showing that our country has got potential or has got expertise or has got probably a unique attraction in any one sector. Across the board, from pharmaceuticals to aerospace, from services to automobiles, from infrastructure to textiles, I think it has been an across the board 57 sectors. You pretty much cover almost every sector of the economy. And we should understand that, when FDI comes, it is not, Sonu, just about the numbers. Of course, the numbers are record-breaking, which is very, very encouraging. We'll come down to numbers in a bit, but it shows the country's potential. It shows the country's prowess. It shows the country's trust, which the world has on India, that its money is going to yield results. The money is going to turn out to be a good ROI, give a good ROI in terms of return of investment. The money is going to grow. The money is going to fulfill the business objectives with which the money basically lands in the country. So I think more than the numbers, it is the trust which is reflected, which is, I think, a huge achievement, because in a country where, we used to talk of a country which is bound by strict regulations, laws, rules, money cannot come in. There was a time when money could not have come in. There was a time when money could not go out. I think we've come a long way from there, and it is a phenomenal achievement. And I think every Indian should be proud of the fact that the world is now looking at India as one of the hottest investment destinations. And this is reflected in our foreign exchange reserves, $643 billion, which is an all-time record. Even today, despite the dollar becoming strong, we are still $572 billion, which is a very, very strong foreign exchange reserve, and thanks to the FDI. And a lot of people come and ask me, Sonu, that how do you see FDIs as compared to FPIs? So the advantage of FDI is that this investment is long-term, whereas FPIs you find in 1 month, they inject money, in the other month they take out money, and the third month they again bring. That's a very, very liquid investment, whereas FDI is a solid decision-based investment which is made for long-term, which is made in a country in a belief that our business is going to yield profit, our business is going to grow. And if I look at the collateral benefits of FDI, I think they are innumerable. We can probably discuss as we move forward with the discussion, Sonu.
So in fact, with FDI, foreign companies don't just bring money with them, but very often they also bring knowledge, skills and technology. So more FDI, you feel, means upgradation, advancement for the country as a whole?
Absolutely. I think, as you rightly said, FDI is coming into the country. As I said as well, it also reflects the trust which the investors have in India. But yes, a lot of collateral benefits. I mean, with FDI, as you rightly said, a lot of skill comes, because obviously when a company is investing in a particular sector, it's the kind of technology that it is bringing along. It wants a certain skill which the local population or the local human resource should possess to be able to work together along with the expat. A lot of more locals work and less expats work, so they need to be trained. So a lot of technology comes, a lot of expertise comes, a lot of knowledge comes, a lot of other skills come, plus the whole work culture changes. If you see the work culture at these foreign companies or where the foreigners have invested money, you see that there is a certain difference in the work culture. I don't say that a purely Indian company has got a bad culture. I certainly do not mean that. But then we always can learn from what these people have been doing. After all, these companies, we should not forget, have grown big enough that today, besides investing in their own countries, they are thinking of investing in other countries. A lot of Indian companies also go and invest. There's a lot of ODI also which is happening, which is overseas direct investment, when Indian companies on a reverse go and invest outside. So only a company which has got a sizable operation, a company which has got a sizable volume of business, and a company which has got expansion plans can go and invest in another country. So obviously there is something to learn from these companies which have gone to another country to invest. Yes, a lot of benefit came to Indians, and in fact, during COVID, I remember, because a lot of world believes, and it is true, that COVID originated from China. So China was called world's factory in 1980, Sonu. China was behind us. And why did China progress? It is simply because of FDI. It became world's factory because the whole world came and invested there, and that is how the Chinese factories started growing. Because when one FDI company comes here, it also gives rise to a sort of lot of small businesses around. So I think the world looking at China plus policy, or one plus policy as they say, I think has benefited India, where people realize that Chinese rules and regulations and Chinese bylaws and Chinese way of doing businesses, I think we should be, when the company started thinking, we should be looking at an alternate destination. And India was one of the direct beneficiaries. It came as a real boon for our country, and going forward, I think we are looking at $100 billion in the times to come. We are already around $85 billion per annum.
Sharadji, the government's approach of liberalizing and simplifying FDI policy for providing ease of doing business, various reforms which have been undertaken recently across sectors, trying to open up sectors to the automatic route, say in manufacturing. Do you think these FDI policies of the government have also played a role in accelerating the inflow of FDI?
Any company would first look at political stability. If there is political stability, there is a very strong government which believes in taking decisions. I think that is the first thing which any company would look at. Of course, after that comes the reform, then comes ease of doing business, then frequent policy updation, correcting the policies wherever we find that there is some tweaking required. We immediately come forward and do the tweaking. Then I think skill development, because no company can operate in a country where it is not able to locate human resource. I think that has been our plus point. I think our education system, our skill development mechanism, although we've got some ground to cover yet, but then there's a lot which have been achieved, because if this was not the case, a lot of critics say that we are lacking on skill development, but if this was not the case, then these companies would not have looked at India, because you cannot operate with an entire expat population. Your human resource cannot form of all foreigners. You need a lot of Indians, in fact, more Indians to work than your expat population. So I think skill development has contributed significantly. Today, you look at mobile phones, you look at advanced aerospace technology, you look at IT, you look at so many things where highly skilled, manpower is required. I think India has been providing that manpower, and these companies, let's not forget, they do a very extensive survey before they decide to pump in billions of dollars, and I think we have come good on those surveys, which has opened the doors for this FDI to happen. So I think government-friendly policies, and a very important aspect which we have to keep in mind is that these companies, at the end of the day, they are not coming for a social cause. They are coming here for profit. So they should, unless they feel comfortable that we will be able to take out our capital in the time when they need to, and we will be able to take out our profit in the form of dividends. Only that comfort can make them or encourage them in bringing money. I think on both the counts that I said, our country has scored very well.
Because Sharadji, can you tell us about the significance of the amount of FDI equity entering the manufacturing sector, surging by 76% in financial year 2022?
I think this is reflected in what I just said, that when China was world's factory, and during COVID, when the world started looking at an alternate, I think India came up, and that is how India's, the Make in India initiative taken by the government, which brought within so many things. It brought within land reforms. We have the new labor code, which is going to come. So many reforms were done, I think, which is what encouraged these companies to come and invest in the manufacturing sector. I think the day we will find that more money is coming in manufacturing. Couple of things I would like to point out. We need to attract more in the manufacturing sector, because if manufacturing sector is able to attract more, that will be the real sign of FDI coming in, and that will really propel the growth of this country. And the second aspect, we should try and encourage FDI coming in a balanced way across all regions of the country, because if you see right now, most of the FDI comes to Karnataka. It almost takes away 38% of the total FDI coming into the country. Then comes Maharashtra, which sees about 26%. And then comes Delhi at 14%. Then of course, little bit comes here and there. So I think if the country is able to attract FDIs to other regions also, I think that will be also a very significant indicator of the fact that we are now a complete FDI ready country, and you can just come anywhere in the country, invest anywhere and earn profits.
So the state administrations will also have to play a very proactive role to achieve this?
Absolutely. I think the state should be conscious of the fact wherever the FDI has come, that particular state has seen growth in per capita income. That particular state has seen growth in its GSDP, which is called the gross state domestic product. So I think if other states, especially we are talking of Bihar, we are talking of Odisha, we are talking of Jharkhand, we are talking of Chhattisgarh, we are talking of Madhya Pradesh, we are talking of so many states where the FDI level is still very low. I think if states become conscious, in fact, I won't be surprised if states can travel outside the country and go and market themselves as ideal, FDI destinations. I think you can set up your stalls in these exhibitions which happen where you showcase yourself as a perfect FDI destination. I'm sure this exercise will help, apart from making the reforms and providing an ideal platform for these companies to come and invest.
If we talk about sectors of the economy, which are the top recipient sectors of FDI equity, and which sectors you feel have more scope of attracting FDI going forward?
The best scope lies in manufacturing, as you said, because manufacturing is something, although we've seen over 70% growth in the manufacturing sector FDIs, but I feel there's a huge potential, and this country can really work wonders if we focus on manufacturing. So manufacturing, otherwise, as far as the sectors where FDI has come in big way, I think IT has been a very significant contributor. Apart from that, electronic, automobiles, chemicals, textiles, we've seen FDI coming in different sectors, but there are sectors. I think one of the major sectors here I would like to highlight is the agri sector. I think with 60 to 70% of our population directly or indirectly dependent on agriculture, I think agri sector FDIs can really benefit, whether it comes to food processing or it comes to, overall food manufacturing or cereal manufacturing. I think that is one thing where India can exploit the potential, and these companies can come and reap the benefits.
And which are the top investor countries investing in India?
Most of the money originates, to my mind, from the developed world. When I say developed world, I put United States of America on the top. After that, because you can't pinpoint, because the SPV is floated in a particular country. So it appears that the investment came from that country, but basically it's an SPV floated. The money can be originating in a developed part of the world. So America, Europe, I think these are the two zones where most of the FDI has come.
So is this vibrant flow of FDI also a crucial reason behind the startup revolution, the emergence of unicorns in a big way in India?
Absolutely. As I said, one big FDI coming can mushroom a lot of MSMEs and small startups around. As I gave you an example of an automobile company coming, let's say we've got a government company called Maruti. So around Maruti in Manesar, the example I took, there is a whole industrial belt which caters only to Maruti, and there are so many innovative things, because a car necessarily doesn't use only automobile parts. There is a lot of information technology which goes into making the car these days. You've got these apps, you've got app-driven cars these days. All these small startups, and the best part is that we are now finding, because of FDI, even without FDI, a lot of startups coming in the aerospace sector, in the space sector, in the defense sector. And this is where, so it's a combination. It's a combination of FDI, the money comes in, a company sets up here, and company starts passing on business, generating business for other startups. And this motivates the startups to grow their business and get not just business from that FDI company, but also from rest of the country, Sonu.
So it's a virtuous cycle of development growth.
Absolutely.
Which starts. Thank you so much, Sharadji, for this in-depth discussion on the new record-setting FDI figures which we have for FY22. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Under the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav series, you were listening to a discussion on India, the top destination for foreign direct investment. The participants were Sharad Kohli, Economic Analyst, and Sonu Sood, AIR Correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.